Today we are talking about how you can be a celebrity, how you can be famous in 4 hours. And this is a 4-part series that we're doing, obviously. This is part 2. And this is about getting heard. Last week we talked about being seen and having your own TV show. A great way to increase your visibility. Well, how do you increase your credibility and authority? And that is by being heard, letting people hear your voice. What is it that you stand for? And how can you capitalize on that to draw a bigger audience? Today is an interesting day. Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, has actually retired, that he's stepping down from running Berkshire Hathaway. He's 94 years old, and he didn't actually really hit his stride until he was 52. So it doesn't mean that you have to start 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now's a good time to start. And then what you need to do is utilize these tools and platforms to build your own visibility and credibility so that you can have a type of career that you become the voice of your industry. And certainly Warren Buffett is known as the voice of financing and investing. And what are you known for? This is what we want to talk about today. We're talking about how do you become an on-air celebrity? And when you learn this, you're going to be amazed at how simple it can be. The tool that we're going to talk about today is looking at podcasting. How many of you have wanted to get into a podcast and thought, I would love to do that? I'm not sure. Maybe you've tried. Do you know how many people actually start a podcast and how long do they go? Here's an interesting fact. Most people, when they start a podcast, they only get through 41 episodes and then they give up. And what you want to do is figure out, how can I use all these tools and platforms to boost my celebrity factor? We're not talking influencer status. That's a different thing, because a celebrity factor is you owning the business and having that power associated to you and your business. So the 4 parts that we're going through this week are getting seen, get heard, get read, where we're teaching you about how do you get your book out there or your publications out there, and get paid. And I think you're going to really love part 4. So these are the 4 parts: get seen, get heard, get read, and get paid. We are this week on number 2, and that is getting heard. So all of this is about boosting your visibility. Last week, we covered the platform. What is your platform? Have your own show. That way you are the centerpiece. You can always go on other people's show, but you don't have any control over it. And control in business is a powerful thing. Today we're talking about starting your podcast. Next week, we will talk about how you can actually write your publications. What is it? Do you want to have a book? Do you want a magazine? Do you want to have a newsletter? There's so many of them that can really turn into an amazing 7-figure business. You just have to pick the one that's right for you. And then we're going to talk about becoming a triple threat. Triple threat is in the industry and Hollywood industry. A triple threat is someone who can do 3 different things, right? They can sing, they can dance, and they can act, for example. And that is what you want to become in your business as well. How do you become a triple threat? So if one industry goes down, right? I used to speak constantly for a living, but during the pandemic, right, that whole thing disappeared. Unfortunately, I had another leg in the stool that I could lean on. That is why we want to show you all 4 of these, so that you can pick what is the right one for you at the right time in your business. And why podcasting? Well, podcasting has really grown, and look at the numbers that you can have. Who's this guy? He makes 200 million plus a year from a podcast, just sitting there talking to one person. And sometimes they go on for hours, but he's been able to get presidents and famous authors and dignitaries and all kinds of strange things. It's your platform. You decide what you want to do. And that part can turn you into a celebrity. So we're talking about being disruptive. Don't just do what everyone else is doing. Right now, the current trend is that, what do they call it? True crime stories. right? And with different Hollywood stories out there, people love hearing the drama of that. I don't know why, but they do, right? So that could be something. But how could you disrupt it? How could you be different? And when we're talking about this, when we look at your business, how does this fit in with everything else? This is the 7-figure CEO formula. And there's 3 pillars to it: distinguish, disrupt, and dominate. This is how we built multi-million-dollar companies for our clients, for ourselves. I've earned over $50 million since I've started my businesses. And this is the pillar under disrupt. Okay. And you need to have a profit pathway that will give you that 7-figure business. So that's where we are today. And why am I doing this? Because this has been my past. I started in the industry when we talked last week about building a show, being in front of the camera since I was 14, then teaching it and building multi-million-dollar companies out of this celebrity factor. And you can do the same thing for yourself. So keep watching. Last week, we gave you all of these tools. If you want those, just type Hollywood script down below. We'll get those to you. And today we're talking about this. How can you do the podcast? What if you don't know what to do? You don't have to own the show. You can be on the show. You can be a guest on the show. And you can also have the same kind of power as hosting it. I'm going to break it down for you so you decide which way you want to go. You pick one. Do you want to be the guest or do you want to be the host? Obviously, there's pros and cons. And we can take a look at this mind map. If you're going to be guesting on a show, what do you need to do? These are the key parts. First, you have to nail your branding so people will remember you, especially when you're going on different shows. You want to understand your messaging. The messaging has to be in alignment with the show and the audience. And you have to be a master storyteller. Let's be honest. If you're really boring, people aren't going to want to listen, and the hosts aren't going to invite you back, and people aren't going to clamor to have you on their show. What is the offer that you're going to make? How do you stay engaging? How do you keep the people interested all the way to the end? And then how do you close it? These are the key factors that you want to look at when you're thinking about, I want to be on somebody else's show. I want to take advantage and leverage their power. Well, you have to make sure that you are a bookable guest. And there's pros and cons to being a guest on a show or deciding to own your own. So you want to pick, what is the best way for me to do this? And if you look at some of the pros, right? You've got a flexible schedule. You can go on different shows when you want. You can have one message each time, which is very powerful to be singularly focused. Also, you have audience diversity. Maybe you have different promotions and offers coming out. So you can go to different shows depending on what's coming out. When you have a book coming out, you might be on one show. When you have maybe a new product or a launch or something else that's coming out, then you can be on different shows. You don't have to have all the experience, the staff, the equipment. You don't have to do a lot of marketing. There's very little time commitment when you are a guest. The cons of being a guest is that you don't have the control, and there is no quality control either. You don't know how the show is going to be produced and when you're going to be on it. And sometimes it's a very small audience, or the show can become inactive and all that energy you put into that disappears. And then sometimes there's no promo opportunities, especially if you don't know when that show is going to begin. And then it is a matter of where you are actually going to be dependent on the host for your marketing activities when you are a guest on a podcast versus hosting your own. But there's some good parts and there's some not so good parts. It really depends how you look at this, what percentage of weighting this has for you in your business. And if you need some help with this, just book a call with us. You can go to callconnie.com. We can look at what your offer is, how you're promoting it, and we can find out the best way to get this set up and which angle is better for you. Do you want to host or do you want to guest? So just go ahead, go to our channel, go to our website, iconicbusinessadvisors.com, and you can also get this whole series that we're doing on air, and you can have that. So we know what it looks like to be a guest on a podcast where people still get to hear your voice. But what if you can have both, where you can host? And there's a lot of pluses there too. If you're a really great host, what you'll find is a lot of people will reach out to you and ask you to speak for them as well. And that can only magnify your success with your own podcast. So we're going to look at these steps that are very important for you to consider if you're thinking about hosting your own show. Okay. So number one is the cost. Everything has a cost. In business, everything has a cost. You might think, I don't want to own my own business. It's going to be too expensive. Well, there's a great cost to you if you are an employee as well, right? But as an owner, you're going to have some costs that you incur with this. And it can be as little as $300, but if you want to go all out and get the fancy equipment and all of the tech and all of the team and all of the editing platforms, it can get really expensive. It can go up to $2,500. What we recommend is start with the basics and then work your way up from the profits. A lot of people really love them because these hosting their own because of some of the revenue that you get. So it might cost you, but you can certainly get a lot of ad revenue and other things. And so when we look at some of these costs, if you look at the equipment, there's some pieces that you're going to need for this, right? And what you want to think about, okay, well, what about my microphone? That's a very key aspect of it. Maybe you want some headphones, or how are you going to be able to hear, especially if you're in a two-way or multi-person conversation. It's different with you just speaking as one person. And when you have others, then you're going to need to make sure that you've got great headphones as well. All of the recording software, what platforms are you going to use? How do you broadcast it out? And the editing software is also important. So what is it for you? Do you have all of this? Do you borrow it? You can also, what's really interesting that a lot of people do these days is they actually go out and go rent studios. And you can go to all types of different office suites and things, and you can use somebody else's equipment and just show up, and maybe you pay a small fee, a couple $100 a month, and then you just bring your material and go in and then deliver it. So you have some choices. There's a lot of steps when you're building a podcast. So I created like this mind map so you can see these are all the different parts that you need to look at before you think, oh, this is so easy. I'm just going to record on my phone in the car, put it out there. And you can get started like that. But with the podcast, it is a long-term play. You really have to stick with it. So let's break this down some more. The planning. What about the planning? What do you need to do here? When we're talking about the planning, of course, you've got to do your research. You have to define your audience and choose your topic. What is this podcast about? What do you want to be known for? Is it a current topic? Is it a fading topic? Is it up and coming? Is it just something unique? Right? And how are you going to create your outline? What is the design of the show? Shows have different themes and energies and types, and you want to know what it is for you. Now, I'm showing you all of these steps broken down, but there is a QR code here, and go ahead and scan that because I have all of these tools, all these steps, every process broken down for you into playbooks, and each one of them will take you through this entire mind map. So when you're thinking about your show ideas, you really want to figure out what are the general topics that you are going to be working on, and what are the show formats? How are you going to do it? Is it a one-person thing? Are you going to bring on guests? Is it a Q&A where you're asking the audience? Is it live? Is it pre-recorded? You want to figure out these two things because that's really the foundation. You don't want to switch it up all the time either because people will get confused with your messaging. So let's talk about the recording. With the recording, now you want to think about how are you going to record the episodes? Are you going to do it at the same time? Are you going to do many of them together? How are you going to test your equipment? Okay. You want to think about, is this going to work? And you can absolutely count on the fact that you're going to have tech errors and issues that come up. We have them all the time, no matter how well we're planned. And so you have to be nimble, flexible, and you have to also have a backup plan for this, and find a quiet space where you're recording so that you don't have a lot of interruptions. Sometimes it's fine in certain cases when you're having a Zoom call, but if you're recording your actual show, then you want to have a nice, pristine environment. And so, how is this podcast going to look? Here's the checklist. Remember, all of these pieces I have set aside for you, so you can screenshot it or you can just request the playbooks. All of this is in your playbook, and there's a QR code there. So when you're doing your research, what are the steps that you need to go through? When you're preparing your thoughts, how do you do this? Now, fortunately, there's lots of AI and all other types of tools. There are specific podcast type software and tools that you can use to help you do all the heavy lifting, because before you had to do it all by yourself, and it took hours and hours and hours in a week, almost like a full-time job to do a podcast. Now that the technology has improved, people are finding that it's actually a lot easier, and more people are getting into podcasting because it's not so laborious and you can get started right away. Like we say, get famous in 4 hours. You can have your podcast up in 4 hours. I've worked with clients where in 1 hour we actually got their podcast set up and live and distributed out to other places, because you want everybody to see and hear it. Now, where are you? If you need some help with your podcast, please let us know. Book a call with us. We'll happily help you. We'll take a look at what it is and make sure that you have all of the right elements as well. So let's keep going and figure out what you need to do next. Okay. When you're creating your podcast, make sure you're preparing each episode. Are you going to do something like we're doing here today, where we're in a 4-part series? Is this a one-off? And there are all of these steps within each step. Okay. So this is why I said this is a mind map. This is not something you do haphazardly. You want to be able to make sure that you can actually handle all the steps and not skip them, because then you'll get frustrated. You won't have the quality and the feedback and the results that you actually want. Now, what's really fun is that you can decide how you want to do your podcast. In the beginning, everyone just had a listen podcast, right? Where you'd listen to it and you'd listen to it on your drive. The average commute is 17 minutes. And so that's a great time to keep your podcast under, if you want people to have a habit of listening to you on the way to or from work. But, Joe Rogan, his podcasts are 3 or 4 hours, and many people are doing longer and longer podcasts. The other aspect about a podcast is you have to decide, is it one that you're going to listen to? Is it going to be one that you watch? So you can listen to it, you can watch it, or you can do both. And this way you can leverage not only the audio aspect of things, but you can leverage things like YouTube and put your podcast to video. A lot of people prefer video. In fact, we are actually visual creatures and we want to see things. And this is what can actually double your audience impact, because you're reaching different audiences that you might not have reached before. When you decide which platform, you've got to then think about your editing. You also need to think about your intro and your outro. What's the title of your show? And how are you going to do it with music? Are you going to have commercials? Are you going to have promos that you're going to put in? What is the software? The other thing that you have to realize is your voice. How good of a speaker are you? Are you going to say like, no, all the time and have all these filler words? Or have you had the ability to really get it down? Are you the kind of person that needs to read off of a teleprompter all the time? You can see when people do that, their eyes are kind of glazed over and they're like flicking back and forth. Some people try with two teleprompters, right? You see political candidates do that, and then they just look like they're watching a tennis match sometimes. So really think about this, because these are all key factors when you're coming down to editing your podcast. And as far as ideas. Where do you get all of these ideas for your episodes? We can take a closer look at that because you have so many more choices nowadays, right? And again, all of this is in the playbooks. So you can ask for the playbooks. So think about who are some of the thought leaders that are out there. You can look at what other people are doing, people with big audiences, and you can start reading their comments. You can see what people are wanting. And then you can also look for things that they're not getting, because then you can take that little corner of the market and capitalize it and dominate it. So again, all of that, I know there's a lot of material here. Please get the podcast playbooks, okay? There's 27 different pieces that you need to have, and we put it all together so there's nothing wanting. You can click that QR code. There's a picture of everything. I'm going to go into more detail on this. And where do you get the guests, right? What are the resources that you can go to find your guests? And you don't always just want to take, oh, this person's on the circuit and they're everywhere, because then it gets a little boring. A lot of people just look for who's got numbers. And there were some famous men for a while, two brothers, and they were so controversial. Everybody wanted them on their show, but it also alienated a lot of their audience because they were a little too controversial. So be careful that you're not just going for numbers and vanity numbers. You're actually going for something that's in alignment with who you are and who your show is. Because if you alienate your audience, you're going to have a hard time. And so these are everything you get with your playbook. Okay. So you've got how to do the power podcasting, the scripts, how to come up with the ideas, how to formulate, how to do the editing. We will also give you a website so that you can have a website for your podcast and put all of that on there. And then all of these steps that I'm showing you are included. So if you would love to have that, all you have to do is just type playbooks down below in the comments. We'll put a link to this down below. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe down here and subscribe to our channel so that you can get notified every time we do these. And if you can't be live, then you want to make sure you get the link in advance so that you can get all of the resources that we are offering for you. So we've talked about 3 or 4 of these steps. Let's go into looking at the next one, and that is the promotion. How are you going to promote this? Once you create it, you air it, it has to be seen. So you want to think about who could you collaborate with to get this out there? What social media platforms are you going to use? Who do you want to have as guest appearances, or are you going to guest and promote one of your shows? Do you have an email list? If you don't have an email list, you definitely need to build that. And a podcast could be a great way for you to build your email list. Why is this so important? Because the email list has power. The email list is the only thing you own. You don't own YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, not even Medium or Substack, but you do own your email list. And that email list on average is worth about $1 per subscriber a month in passive income. People always talk, I want passive income. Well, how do you get it? One of the best ways is when you're singularly focused on your one brand is to build your email list. And by having a podcast or a TV show, you can really do that a lot. Another way that we're going to talk about next week is doing it with a book. Even if you think, I don't have anything to write, I don't have anything to say, watch next week and we will show you how to become a celebrity with the power of a book. So what we want to encourage you to do is think about this. What are the tools? What are the steps that are important for you to get right? Okay. In the promotion that I just showed you, these are all the steps that you're going to put into place. Again, all of these are in the playbooks, so you can screenshot it, but just go ahead and order the playbooks. And when you're marketing, that's another thing we talked about. How do you get it out there? How do you put the tools out there? one of the things you want to do is have some lead magnets, something to have people opt in for. So they give you the email address, right? Email is money. And then you give them a tool or resource that they want. So for example, here we have the planner. We have the lead magnet ideas. I put together 28 different lead magnet ideas for you. So if you don't know what to use or how to put it together or how to come up with the headlines, how to stylize it, we got you covered. Okay. And a website. So these are important pieces. Just scan the QR code and you can get all of that. And then, of course, you're going to need to publish it. Let's get the word out there a little bit more, right? And you want to make sure that you upload your episodes right at the right time for the right audiences and geographic areas. You want to have show notes so people know what this is about and they can maybe download those. And of course, choose the right platform. Have something, a platform for you that is aligned with your ability to handle tech. If you're not a techie person, then you're going to need to hire somebody. And that's going to be an extra expense. So in order, now that you've got it ready to go and to publish, it's time to launch, right? And these are the steps that you're going to do. Just follow each one after the next, and then that will get you on air and have the ability to build your audience. So we talked about, right, the cost, the steps, the tools. These are the tools that you're going to need to get your podcast up and running. So these are all the playbooks that we've got, and we've put them together for you. And let me show you exactly what that looks like, because if you want to save time and you don't want to have this podcast project take up all your time, you really, really, really want to focus on utilizing these tools and getting organized, having the trackers, having the time planners. Everything is available for you. Okay. And how much income can you make? Well, we already showed you. You could go as high as Joe Rogan at $200 million. What is it for you? Maybe you just want part-time income. Maybe it's $1,000. Maybe it's, hey, it's going to be my main gig. I'm going to make $100,000 a month off of my podcast. And you can do that through multiple ways. And so this is the step-by-step system that I want you to get so you can profit from your podcast. I don't want you to be one of those people that ends up walking away after 41 episodes. Okay. And you're going to build this on your time frame. Maybe you do it once a week. Maybe you do it a couple times a week. Maybe you want to do it every day. Everyone's a little different, but here's the good news about podcasts. You don't have to do it every day. You can just do one a week, and it's still, in many studies, it is actually better than doing it more times per week. So what I want to give you also with these playbooks is all of the live training. Okay. And we put it all in a platform. So you're going to get all the live training, all the playbooks, and then I will hop on a call with you so you can put it all together in an organized way. And so this is what I want you to do. If you want to get the entire system, go ahead and click here. Let me make that a little bit bigger for you so that you can actually access everything here. Go to that QR code, get the whole system, the whole Power Podcasting system, and get all the tools, all the resources. There's a total of 27 different resources that I have here for you. I want you to have all of them. You're going to get the 57-page planner, the 10 steps, the guidebook to getting set up, 18 different podcast templates. So what's your format, right? We have that for you. We've got all the power scripts for you. We have 28 different lead magnet ideas for you. We also have the income generator blueprint. We have a 24/7 membership site for you, and you get the strategy session, and you get the website to go with it as well. So there is nothing that we left out. Everything is there for you. And all you have to do is type in playbooks. And so each playbook comes out to about $1. You can't lose with that. There's 27 pieces and there's your price. Everything that you get is right here. You are going to love this. And what this is going to do is help you get famous in 4 hours. You can put together your first podcast start to finish in 4 hours. And this is what you have the ability to do to grow your business. You don't have to sit around and create designs all day long on Canva. You can actually do something that you can reuse. In fact, your podcast itself is often its own lead magnet. It's one of the most powerful lead magnets you could give to people. So watch this again, go through the steps, do them in order, keep your costs low. You don't have to go crazy on this, but you also don't want to scrimp. What you want is a strategy. And so I will hop on a strategy call with you, outline this whole thing for you so you know exactly what to do, and then keep all of the Power playbooks. And I built out a membership site for you, so you can go in there forever and go back in and reuse it and renew it and review it and change your format because it's timeless material. So go and grab the playbooks, and you can go to, if you're listening to this, you can go to www.theiconicleader.com/podcast playbooks. Okay, so come back next week, because next week we are going to continue our Famous in 4 Hours series. We're going to show you how to get that book done. I know you have a book inside you, or maybe you've been thinking about it. Maybe you tried one before, but it just went flat and you haven't sold anything. Do you know about all the authors out there? The average author only sells 100 copies of their book. Oh, that's shameless. I've made millions of dollars from my book. So a book is a very powerful tool. I have neighbors who I've known for years who one said, "Oh my God, you wrote books? Oh my gosh, and now she has me, her esteem level is way up here. Just knowing that I've authored books. The power of that is really, really incredible. And if you want to learn how to get your book out and your publications out, we're going to talk about that next week. So come back Tuesdays, 5 p.m. for Iconic TV Live, and be iconic.